G'day, folks. How are you? Hope you're doing all right on a Monday. A Monday public holiday eve, I guess. And just a short note at the beginning of tonight's show to acknowledge all those who have served both current and previously for this country, and for those who've given their lives in service of this country. Lest we forget, tomorrow will be a big day. I hope that you are going to go off and visit your local Anzac service. Be wonderful if you could. There are some stories coming out and around at the last 24 hours or so. I've seen some stories about Anzac Day supposedly being held on the wrong day, etc. These are all may well be true. They may well be just crap. They may just be distraction. But at this time, I won't let myself be distracted by those sorts of arguments. We've been celebrating Anzac Day on the 25th of April for my entire life, and I know for many others, a lot longer than that. So until we can definitively prove otherwise, then we will continue to do the same. I hope you are going to get out and support our servicemen tomorrow. Dawn service is happening all around the country. In my part of the world, I'll be heading off to the Dawn service in Cleveland, I think it is. So be heading to Cleveland tomorrow morning very early, and paying our respects for those that have served for this nation and given up, paid the ultimate cost, if you like. And then at some point, I plan on journeying to one or two RSLs throughout the day, just to catch up with some mates more than anything. I've got a lot of friends who are ex-servicemen, and I've got family now past that served as well. So it does mean a great deal to me, Anzac Day. And having worked in RSLs for a little while, I understand what a big day it is for them. And it's great to see so many veterans getting out. So if you have the opportunity to go and buy a veteran a beer tomorrow, go to a gun barrel breakfast, and then head off and have something at an early openers, then please do. A lot of our veterans, this could well be amongst their last Anzac days. And I think we lost our last World War I veteran, obviously, a few years ago now, and we've still got a number of World War II veterans. They need to be supported, loved, kept, and get their stories, folks. Tomorrow is a day to get their stories. And if you are allowed to capture it and record it, please do. I'll briefly, before we get into tonight's show, I'll briefly tell you just one story that I got while I was driving limousines, and we did a lot of Department of Veteran Affairs work. So I used to drive old veterans up the road and down the road from Brisbane to the Gold Coast and whatnot quite often for medical appointments. And just one of the stories that this very humble gentleman told me one day was that he was on the first 1,000 bomber raid over Germany, over Dresden, Germany, when the Allies returned fire, so to speak. The first 1,000 bomber raid. And he went through just how dangerous it was to be formation flying like they were in those days, and how the bombs were being dropped at all different levels, from above them, and from their flight level as well, from ahead of them, above and ahead of them. So they were actually flying through bomb falls. It was amazing that they didn't clean up half their own fleet. But some of those stories that he told me from his flying days in World War II, simply amazing stories. And they should be captured. So if you have the opportunity to capture them and share them, then please do. Thank you, everybody, for their service. For everybody, regardless. Another bloke told me he was in New Guinea, and I naively said, "Oh, you were on the Kokoda Trail, were you?" He said, "No, I just guarded the fruit." I said, "Like, guarded the fruit?" And he's like, "Yep, had to guard the fruit in New Guinea because every time the Americans came past, they'd all come ashore off their boats and they'd steal every bit of fruit on the island and go back to the boats with it because they never had any fresh fruit left after they'd been at sea for so long." So his job was to guard the fruit. That was the trip he told. That was the story he told me on the way up. On the way back, he told me that he was one of the first on a crew to set up the first radar installation in the very northern parts of New Guinea, on a remote island where everything was dropped off by ship and had to be hauled up a mountain by oxen and locals and army and put together and assembled. And it was the first radar installation capable of seeing over the horizon, if you like. And the batteries that they used gave them enough power to run for 3 hours every day. That was all they could see for 3 hours. Then they were recharging those batteries. But he was part of the crew that put all that together and ran that. So some of the interesting stories you get from people who just were guarding the fruit. So tomorrow is a day for telling of stories. Tomorrow is a day for celebrating those that have left us, those that served and gave everything on the battlefield, those that came home and still found themselves struggling and at war, most often with themselves, and who've suffered, and their families have suffered from that time on. So our deepest respects, our greatest thanks. If you're a current or serving officer, and I've got a young bloke in my family who's serving at the moment, every time I say to him, thank you for your service, and he's been in now coming up on 4 or 5 years, he just says, I've done nothing. You've done nothing to thank me for. I keep saying it's not the fact you've done nothing, it's the fact that you're prepared to stand up and do it when called upon. So that's what we thank you for, the fact that you are prepared to stand up and fight. And this is a time where we need so many others to stand up and fight in a civil way, not in a military way, in a civil way. So let's hope that tomorrow the bravery of our Australian soldiers can somehow be infused a little bit into the bravery of our freedom movement. And together we can all stand up, be a bit stronger, be a lot more unified, and be a better, metaphorically speaking, fighting force going forward for us all. Not the individuals, but for us all. That's important. So I'll stop my little rant about Anzac Day, but enjoy your Anzac Day wherever you are and whatever you're doing, and be safe on the roads if you're getting around there, because, well, we all know what lives on the roads these days. We have had a lot of response to our QSI shows. A lot of people are warning us, saying scam, scam, scam. Look, we are aware there is a lot of resistance. We are aware of many things that we don't talk about. So I just want you to know that thank you very much. We know the stories. We know who they're affiliated, well, not affiliated with, so to speak, but we know who their other voices are around the world, including Charlie, and we know all the doubts that people have about Charlie. And, well, you don't see me talking about Charlie a great deal here, do you? So thank you. We are aware. But if it is a scam, we're determined to expose it. If it's not a scam, then we are doing no harm. And tonight's show is sort of a follow-on from a QSI show. But tonight I've asked Vince to come in and explain how to set up a crypto wallet, simply because I've had a number of requests from people over the last probably 3 weeks for information on how to do that. And I was unable to give it to them because I hadn't set one up until very recently. So Stella Oppie, your answer to your question should be coming up. Where could I get some help setting up a lobster wallet? Hopefully here tonight. So be prepared. Take a pen, get a notepad, take some notes if that's what you require. You will need a pen and a notepad in the setting up of a lobster wallet or any kind of wallet process. We'll talk about the different kinds of wallets. I'm only mentioning lobster now because that's the only one I know. So Stell was unable to get help from anybody else close by. So we will be able to help. She mentions CoinSpot. I hadn't even thought of CoinSpot, so we will be talking about that. And rather than me just talking through my hat, I decided to get the man who needs to wear a hat to make sure all that intelligence doesn't float straight out of the unimpeded skin on the top of his head. Welcome, Vince. How are you, brother?
I love it, mate. I love it. Yeah, definitely. My excuse, right? Everyone says you're bald on top. It says I got so many braidings to push the hair follicles out.
Of course.
That's how that one works. I think it works.
Yeah. I used to say that too until somebody says, do you have hair on your ass?
Yeah, no comment. All right, no problems, mate. Good one.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so just having a quick scan. Have you been looking at the questions, or have there been any questions, or have people just been saying hello to each other? Hello to everybody tonight. Elsa's back in the room. Hi, Elsa. And Prophet's in saying scam. Righto, Prophet. There you go. What else we got?
Okay.
Bulls Nuts is back in. Bulls Nuts, want to learn more about your thing happening on in the Northern Rivers, mate? Email me, carl@vofhq.com, please. Paul, I respect you, dude. Not sold on crypto. It's just the data that can be lost. So that's one of the things we're going to get to and talk about, Vince.
Yep.
I guess people are a bit worried about all that too. Hello, Sunflower, you wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. Lovely to have you here tonight too. And Angela, J1, and Phil's in the room. There's quite a few. The Larrikins are in the house. They say hello to Sue. They don't say hello to me. So, yes. So if we find we are in deep need of support, I guess there is one of those Larrikins who'd be more than happy to join us. But I'll let him sit on the edge of the chair and wait for the invite to appear.
Certainly wouldn't hurt. I certainly know one of the Larrikins is involved in crypto, so that's good. But tonight is basically, we're just trying to do the basics of crypto so people get a bit better of an understanding. Some traps to look out for, how to set up wallets, how to understand what a wallet is and all that sort of stuff. So it's just going to be a very low level basic system on how it all progresses, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to explain enough to people that they will get a bit of a concept so they can make an informed decision. That's all this is about. This is educational. It's not financial advice. It's so they can make an informed decision.
Right. So we want to just take note that I particularly am treating this purely as an exercise.
Yeah.
I personally have not invested 1 cent in crypto. What we were talking about in our QSI thing the other day was a gift from Jane via QSI Russia, which amounted to be 100 XLM, which I think was $10 worth. Now, if you want to play, you want to try this, great. We aren't. Well, I am not going to be proffering assets for you to go looking at on this channel. We will simply, I hope Vince, let people set up a wallet. We'll explain CoinSpot, but outside of that, my only advice would be do the QSI beginners course, because it's the only place to start at the moment outside of us, as far as I can tell. Or if you've got friends in the game, let them try and help you. However, I would caution, there is supposedly a big financial shift coming in the world, and Bitcoin seems to be the only digital asset, if you like, Vince, that 99% of the world are aware of. Everybody that I've been speaking to who following, not necessarily following QSI, but following the market, do believe Bitcoin is getting ready for a crash that could potentially send it to zero. There are other assets. Bitcoin is just the one most people have heard of, but people are advised to look around, make your own choices, and do your own research. Have you heard anything about that Bitcoin crash?
Only on what was brought up from yesterday's stream about a shutdown of the internet would cause the whole thing to crash. I haven't looked into that further. It's something I do want to have a look at. But effectively, that's in the programming of the coin and how it's distributed. But we don't want to go too deep into that. But Bitcoin is the one that everybody knows. That's what they always talk about. It's the gold of cryptocurrencies. It's not the only coin out there. There's, at the moment, something like 12,000 coins floating around the market.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to invest in all of them, I can tell you. Some of them are scams, some of them are not. Some what we call rug pulls, where they get in, they make their money, and then they pull the rug out from under you. It is a very volatile type area, but also understanding that down the track, we're going to be dealing with cryptos of some sort. And the ones that we've got that are free, that are moving now, that don't involve banks, to some degree are going to be a bit of a lifesaver against the CBDCs that are coming out, that are going to control your flow and have programmed money and expiry dates and whatever else they want to put into it. So they're not going to be happy about the crypto market, because it's fighting really against them, because it's not centralized, it's not controlled by governments. They don't like it.
It's everything that's appealing to us, isn't it?
Yeah, in that respect it is. So the only way they can effectively stop the crypto market would be by basically saying you can't exchange your coins to money or to CBDCs or something like that. It's about the only way they can stop it. Then again, if I've got, I don't know who's beeping. It's not me, I don't think.
Yeah, it's me.
If I've got money that, if I want to buy a service from you, right, I can use that alternate currency and send it directly to you and back again. So it works outside. It's an alternative currency outside the currency of the current global World Economic Forum, etc. So there's a lot.
They can't flip it on the way past.
Yeah, they can't. No, that's the point. Can't. Right. So if you've got thousands upon thousands of computers distributed around the world who are mining this thing and looking after the ledgers, they don't have control of all those computers.
Yeah. I understand that. And in fact, I hope to get a phone call in maybe later tonight or tomorrow with a bloke who's heavily involved in that part of the world. And I'm trying to get an insight into what they're seeing at the moment in their end of the market. Before we get going into talking about lobster, Paul raises this question. Can we talk about why lobster is not talked about wider than just within the small groups like QSI, Quantum Brownie, etc.? Charlie's only chimed in within it with the last year or so. So that's a really good question. I remember hearing of lobster long before I heard of QSI. I remember hearing of lobster pretty much from its inception, but only because I've got a friend who was probably involved at its inception, urging the wallet. And if people have watched all the episodes of this show, they will find that in one of them I've admitted that somewhere in my past I did open a crypto wallet and lost the 12 key words that are required to get into it. So for all I know, I could have a whole Bitcoin or more in that account, but because I don't have those 12 keywords, it's just sitting there doing nothing.
Well, there's the story of the gentleman who, at the beginning of Bitcoin, mined a whole heap of them, fell out of stock for remembering about it, whatever, ended up his computer broke down, so he threw it out in the dump. So in a dump somewhere, there is millions of coins of Bitcoin sitting in a dump. Yeah, so what they would be worth today. Whoa. Anyway, in answer to the question about the lobster wallet, as you go through this process, you're going to see that it's not just one wallet. There are millions of wallets out there that you can use. And most coins have their own wallets, surprisingly enough. So your challenge with lobster is talked about a lot here, but I'm going to mention a couple of others today which are much more relevant. And depending on what you plan to do or don't plan to do, you should be able to at least get your crypto safe. And I'm hoping to give you some cautions on how to do that as you go. One of them is definitely write down your 12 password phrase, which we will talk about later. So probably the first part, Carl, just want to throw up that picture on how a blockchain works. Okay, so this is a blockchain, and this gives you a really basic idea. Now, I'm not going to tell you where I nicked this photo from. I'm not going to mention anything about the World Economic Forum or anything like that. But this, but effectively, right, this gives you a basic idea of how a blockchain works. It's very similar to the banking, but the thing is, the bank is not in the middle. All right. You say, for instance, I want to send money to Carl. I open up my wallet. Then there's a transaction gets presented to the blockchain. I'm sending, say, half a Bitcoin to Carl. That goes to the transaction chain. That transaction chain then advertises it out to all the other computers you can see there in step 3 on the system, and says, do you agree with this transaction? Make sure it's not a double spend. Make sure it's not this. Make sure it's not that. And then depending on whether it's proof of work or whether it's actually consensus, it will then return back and say, yeah, we're all happy with that. So it writes that transaction to the blockchain, right? They all get confirmed. Once that is confirmed that they're all valid and that everybody agrees, the money then lands inside Carl's wallet. That's just how simple the step is. Now, there's no bank in there to take any money, right? There's no intermediate third person. Well, there is actually. It's the computers that are running the actual little process to confirm it all. They get a small amount of the fee as part of that transference. So that's how they make their money, in case you're wondering.
So say that one more time. How does that work?
Okay, so all these computers, obviously, they're out there running the equations to match all of the ledgers up and make sure they're all concise and they're all precise and they all agree with each other. They all cost money to run: electricity, equipment, etc., and so on. So when I transfer, say I transfer 0.5 of a Bitcoin to you, I might get charged 0.5 plus 0.001 of a Bitcoin.
Right.
And
yep.
0.001 goes out to these people who are mining the blockchain, and whoever takes the first record gets that 0.001, and then the rest can agree with it and it goes through. Right. So it's up to them, whichever grabs it. So there's a charge that comes with it.
I've heard to it as finding the next solution for the blockchain.
Blockchain can be used for many, many, many solutions. It just depends on what you're looking at.
Yeah, right. So this particular section, without wanting to confuse what we're talking about, might have different layers. And in this instance, we're talking about transferring cash, but it could be other things.
Yeah, it could be an asset. It could be a contract. It could be a non-fungible token of Carl's voice. It could be, right? It could be anything that is required or that can be wrapped or put in, right? Yeah. So it's just not held for that. I think
now. So I have a question about the network, right?
Yep.
So one presumes that if you, okay. Do you get to choose the network that you transfer the money through, or is that one of these portals that are now vying for, if you like, our point of service trade as well in this realm?
Both, right?
Right.
There's effectively, for instance, I mentioned before, there's 1,200 different cryptocurrencies plus out there. Some of them run on the Ethernet, on ETH network. Some of them are Bitcoin, some are Litecoin, some are Ripple, some are XLM, some are, Electronium, whatever. Those are all separate individual blockchains, right? The tokens that are tokenized in Ethereum, that's a different kettle of fish, and we won't go into that, but they all run on the Ethereum blockchain. So something like Stellar, for instance, they're talking about cross-platforms or cross-blockchaining. That's where you can talk from one blockchain to another blockchain. And that's the I can't say the word interlopy type situation that they're trying to organize. So cross-platform chains, good things because it allows you to move from one chain to another. So shift your asset from one to another. Right, so that's part of that, but that gets really complicated. But just understand that each of them is a chain. It's like each of them are their own bank. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now I like the concept of that. You become your own bank.
You are.
So how do you make interest, or is interest something that we? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to turn these notifications off. I think they're coming from my phone. I'll turn that one off. That should help.
That's right. Yeah, I know it sounds shifty, but it is just to add there. It sounds shifty. I know it sounds shifty, and it can be controlled, but it's a catch-22. This is coming whether we like it or not. We need to know whether we're going to play in this field, whether we're going to be forced into this field, and if so, let's be aware of what this technology is about. So it's been around for quite a while now. I've been in crypto for over 7 years. Do I trust CBDCs? Not likely at all.
No.
Right? Never. Same as I'm not super keen on the lobster wallet and the assets that they're doing. Right? I don't class that as even valid, but we're doing the experiment.
Yeah.
So effectively, though, all this is there are legit projects out there. For I mentioned Electronium as one that started in 2017, and for ages now they have been bringing a currency to all the unbanked people in Africa, right? Where people would sell their Electronium or use their Electronium to buy bread. They'd wash a car, they get paid in Electronium, they have it on their mobile phone. Right, they go and buy credit for their mobile phone with Electronium, all that sort of stuff. So the millions of people in Africa who were unbanked, had no way of getting any income or storing or saving their income, now have that option. So that's just one example, and there's lots and lots of examples out there like that. So that one's a real humanitarian one.
And it's obviously not being hacked, or they wouldn't be putting their money in it anymore. So
there's been some people tried to hack it, a couple of times.
I'm sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm
sure.
Well, somebody's even tried to hack into my Lobster account after seeing that number that was on the screen, my public key. So congratulations. I hope you saw what you needed to see.
It would have only been the balance, Carl. That's it.
Yeah. 14. Well, it's not even that now. I bought 10 more of Tesla today. So 4.99, 4.999 something or other. I've got XLM left, so I won't be spending big on anything soon.
I looked at that actually, the Tesla one today. I thought I should send a tweet to Elon Musk and ask him if he knows about it. But anyway,
well, why not? Tell him you happen to know a bloke who'd have him on the show to talk about it if he wanted to.
Yeah, I could do that. Not that you know me from anybody else in the 7 billion in the world. But well, perhaps what we might do, Carl, is I'll stop sharing this at the moment.
Yep.
Right. And just so people get a bit of an understanding of how the security of a blockchain works, there's a really good example that's done by Simply Explained. Servier is the gentleman's name. Shout out to his YouTube channel, which is YouTube at Simply Explained. If you want to go and look up stuff, he's got some really good examples. But it's a 6-minute video, and I think it does a really good job of explaining what a blockchain is. Understanding there are many, many blockchains. So do you reckon we can throw that on?
Yep, absolutely. Give me 1 second here. I'll blow it up so we can all see it. And there we go.
Blockchains are incredibly popular nowadays. But what is a blockchain? How do they work? What problems do they solve? And how can they be used? Like the name indicates, a blockchain is a chain of blocks that contains information. This technique was originally described in 1991 by a group of researchers and was originally intended to timestamp digital documents so that it's not possible to backdate them or to tamper with them, almost like a notary. However, it went by mostly unused until it was adapted by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 to create the digital cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Now, a blockchain is a distributed ledger that is completely open to anyone. They have an interesting property. Once some data has been recorded inside a blockchain, it becomes very difficult to change it. So how does that work? Well, let's take a closer look at a block. Each block contains some data, the hash of the block, and the hash of the previous block. The data that is stored inside a block depends on the type of blockchain. The Bitcoin blockchain, for example, stores the details about a transaction in here, such as the sender, receiver, and the amount of coins. A block also has a hash. You can compare a hash to a fingerprint. It identifies a block and all of its contents, and it's always unique, just as a fingerprint. Once a block is created, its hash is being calculated. Changing something inside the block will cause the hash to change. So in other words, hashes are very useful when you want to detect changes to blocks. If the fingerprint of a block changes, it no longer is the same block. The third element inside each block is the hash of the previous block. And this effectively creates a chain of blocks, and it's this technique that makes a blockchain so secure. Let's take an example. Here we have a chain of 3 blocks. As you can see, each block has a hash and the hash of the previous block. So block number 3 points to block number 2, and number 2 points to number 1. Now the first block is a bit special. It cannot point to previous blocks because, well, it's the first one. We call this block the genesis block. Now let's say that you tamper with the second block. This causes the hash of the block to change as well. In turn, that will make block 3 and all following blocks invalid because they no longer store a valid hash of the previous block. So changing a single block will make all following blocks invalid. But using hashes is not enough to prevent tampering. Computers these days are very fast and can calculate hundreds of thousands of hashes per second. You could effectively tamper with a block and recalculate all the hashes of other blocks to make your blockchain valid again. So to mitigate this, blockchains have something that is called proof of work. It's a mechanism that slows down the creation of new blocks. In Bitcoin's case, it takes about 10 minutes to calculate the required proof of work and add a new block to the chain. This mechanism makes it very hard to tamper with the blocks because if you tamper with one block, you'll need to recalculate the proof of work for all the following blocks. So the security of a blockchain comes from its creative use of hashing and the proof of work mechanism. But there is one more way that blockchains secure themselves, and that is by being distributed. Instead of using a central entity to manage the chain, blockchains use a peer-to-peer network and everyone is allowed to join. When someone joins this network, he gets a full copy of the blockchain. The node can use this to verify that everything is still in order. Now, let's see what happens when someone creates a new block. That block is sent to everyone on the network. Each node then verifies the block to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with. And if everything checks out, each node adds this block to their own blockchain. All the nodes in this network create consensus. They agree about what blocks are valid and which aren't. Blocks that are tampered with will be rejected by other nodes in the network. So to successfully tamper with a blockchain, you'll need to tamper with all the blocks on the chain, redo the proof of work for each block, and take control of more than 50% of the peer-to-peer network. Only then will your tampered block become accepted by everyone else. So this is almost impossible to do. Blockchains are also constantly evolving. One of the most recent developments is the creation of smart contracts. These contracts are simple programs that are stored on the blockchain and can be used to automatically exchange coins based on certain conditions. More on smart contracts in a later video. The creation of blockchain technology piqued a lot of people's interest. Soon others realized that this technology could be used for other things, like storing medical records, creating a digital notary, or even collecting taxes. So now you know what a blockchain is, how it works on a basic level, and what problems it solves. Want to learn how you can implement a simple blockchain in JavaScript? Then check out this video here. And as always, thank you very much for watching.
Right.
That was
So
pretty interesting.
yeah,
Best
it's a very
explanation I've seen of it yet.
very basic, very simple view of it. That shows how basically blockchains work and how
What
decentralization.
does it mean to have a
Sorry,
Bitcoin?
getting a bit excited.
Many people have heard of Bitcoin.
So
That
let
it's
me
a
just
fully
stop
digital
this.
currency.
Sorry, got a bit excited.
That's all right, mate. Not a challenge at all. Just to give a bit about that decentralized, because that's where the security lies in that. I'm going to shut that one up for you. If you want to show it on the screen. Right, so this gives a bit of an idea. Now, what people get confused by what's centralized in a blockchain and what's not centralized and decentralized. So here you see this is a distributed network, which means it has my mouse is moving. I'm not moving my mouse around. You can't see that. Can you?
No, I'm not seeing it.
Didn't think so. Okay. The distributed network shows a whole heap of computers that are linked to each other that hold the ledger, right? But all those computers can still be owned by one company or one organization, such as a central bank, right? They might have hundreds of those distributed all over the place. Don't worry about it, Carl, it happens. So effectively, that is a blockchain, and it is a distributed blockchain. But as I said, it's all owned by one company. You've got a centralized blockchain where everything runs from within a centralized location. So one organization. A good example of this is actually Ripple, not XLM, but Ripple itself, right? They control all the transactions go through there. Now, I'm not sure whether they're using the distributed model or the centralized model, right? But either or, they are in total control. Same thing as what would happen with central banks and CBDCs. Decentralized, such as things like Ethereum or Stellar, for instance, or even Bitcoin. These are all controlled by individual main servers and individual nodes, and you can see all those nodes out there. So the more and more nodes that are out there with the blockchain on it, with the ledger, the more and more.
Just hang on a sec, mate. You're dropping out really, really badly. Has somebody started up, Call of Duty in the background or anything?
I don't think so.
Just a huge drag on the audio. Well, your audio just cut out at my end really badly. I couldn't understand it. So just want to start again from, not right from the beginning, but I don't know, the last 30 seconds or so, you were talking about the decentralized way of doing things.
Okay. The decentralized one is what we're talking about here. So each of these individual little nodes that you see on there, they will all have a copy of that blockchain ledger. So for somebody to hack it, they have to hack every single node to make it all look the same. Hence, that's the reason why it's secure. The other part about this is all these nodes are not owned by a central organization. Hence the reason why it's a threat to their current CBDCs, because they can't control who's got a copy of the ledger. They can't change the ledger, right? Because they don't have control of all the nodes. So you'd have to have more than 50% of the nodes to be able to do that ledger, to change that ledger. And that's the reason why that side of it works. Disadvantage to all of this, of course, if we have no power or we have no internet, none of it works.
Yeah.
Period, right? But then again, you're not going to be able to go down and use your CBDCs either, or you get your money out of your ATM. So at that point, if we're in that situation, I think we're all figuring out how we're going to eat for the next however long. So,
well, those of us with a bit of silver and or a bit of gold
Yeah, we'll be able to trade. Yep.
Yeah. And it's, I suppose, relevant to add at this point that I know that there are a number of areas in Australia already that are currently trading in precious metals. So you can walk in a number of parts of the world, buy fuel, pay for service on vehicles, spare parts, whatever you need, and pay for it in gold. You can get your groceries in gold. So there's not just a register behind the counter. There's also a set of scales like the old days.
Yeah.
So that's returning, folks. That's returning.
Still think cash is king.
Well, I think cash is the easiest for everybody, isn't it? Everybody concerned. And at this stage of the game anyway, it's still there for the taking. But if you don't want to be walking around with balls and balls of cash, then maybe getting out of the big banks and getting into silver and gold, I don't think is a bad idea for your superannuation. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about that with Cass Smith as often as I do. I don't see this as something I would invest my superannuation in. I'm not at a point now where I would put it. Well, I've put anything in it at the moment. So if I had, superannuation money, 100,000 plus, I wouldn't be shoving it into this game just at the moment. Or is that just because of my naivety? Will I be getting crowds of email now saying you're an idiot if you had $100,000 buy Bitcoin?
Oh, it's a catch-22. It's a risk, right? If you had $100,000 to waste, yeah, sure, go ahead. All right. Worst case scenario, in the next couple of years, that might be worth $400,000 or $500,000.
Yep.
Okay, but it's the way Bitcoin works, and I'll show you a little map on that a little bit later. I'm just going to check to see I'm not actually got something going on here. So just hang on half a second.
That's all right. Your audio's working fine, and the people online are hearing you fine. It was just maybe something at my end, but I'm definitely the only thing on here. I do have a few windows open.
No, that's fine. So now that you have a bit of an understanding about a blockchain and how things are created and how a block is created, the next thing to understand about all of this is what is a wallet.
Yeah.
What is a wallet? Right. Now, I said at the beginning that wallets, most of the blockchains have their own wallets. But what is a wallet? A wallet is really just an entry on the blockchain. But until you actually have a program that can create you a wallet, like Lobster, for instance, in this case, we'll mention that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any entry on the blockchain. The minute that you do use a program and you sign into it and you get your numbers and you get your passcode and whatever, you are creating a little slot somewhere in that blockchain. And from that point on, that's yours.
Okay.
Now, the thing being that little account that you have created is for the Stellar blockchain. Then you might have another one that you want to create for the Bitcoin blockchain, and another one for the Ethernet blockchain, and another one for the XM, for I don't know, one of the others. Probably not CDBC. You don't want one of them. But effectively, each one of those means you have multiple bank accounts, if you want to look at it that way, because that's your bank. That's where your money goes. That's where your cryptocurrency goes.
My advice to Bill here is to take your wallet off the bar, mate, and put it back in your pocket. Nobody needs to see how swollen your wallet is, brother.
Yeah, that's definitely the case, mate.
Yeah.
So each one of those wallets, and that becomes a bit of a challenge when you're trying to manage, all of those various wallets if you're investing in bits and pieces.
SR is saying after all the excitement of the last few years, cash is the one thing they have very little on hand of right now.
Yeah, that's very true.
And that's by design. That's by design, people losing jobs, losing housing, having to be on the road, having to run cash jobs or take welfare handouts. So, yeah, cash, if you can get some behind you, it's good to have a little bit of money behind you. just in case the power goes out. And as we discussed last night, they're predicting 3 to 10 days of the power going out somewhere in our near future. Mind you, that near future has been predicted now into our distant past, from our distant past. So take that as you will regarding timelines. Certainly not my part of the world.
Just keep on the pulse.
Yeah. And we know which finger we're keeping on it, don't we? So get educated in this, folks, because whether you like it or not, it is coming. What version of it with the CBDC's central bank digital currency? But Jane, and I think if Jim had have got on the show, and I can tell you why he didn't make it shortly, they would both say central bank decentralized currency is what that is going. Distributed currency.
Right. Decentralized. I'm wrong. Sorry, she did say decentralized.
So I think
that is valid, because if it's running on the Stellar network, Stellar is a decentralized network. Okay. However, if it's running on Ripple network or XLM, not so much, because that's a centralized network.
Roger that.
Ripple, all of
Ripple.
It. Okay, so, and they, as I said, they've got their commercial side and they've got their Ripple side. So that part of it, Ripple, and I'm having a mental blank on the name of it, XRP. Right. That XRP side is, are they going to interchange? Are they not? That's still an unknown quantity. So this discussion about XRP was never supposed to get out there and it's going to make thousands and thousands of dollars, not so much, I don't think. It's probably going to make a fairly good profit rise, but not to the degree that everyone's quoting. That's just my personal opinion, in my opinion.
Okay. I'm going back to Bill here because my joke was really good, but he's quite serious. He believes that this bloke, whoever it is, friend, family, can see where he has sent to his other wallet and can see the contents there, but he doesn't know 100% if it's his wallet, but he does because he knows him. So is that essentially what they will have seen off that key that I put up last night on the page that we showed? And we deliberately did it to see whether or not anybody would try and hack in. And Yahtzee.
They're out there, I tell you. So, if you send money off to a wallet and you're not the owner of that wallet, then that money goes to that wallet and you lose it.
But like he's saying that this fella can see where he sent it to his other wallet.
Doesn't matter. If he doesn't own the wallet, okay. Bring up that next one I have there for you, Carl, the document. Because this will explain how a wallet works. Okay. Right, so I better pull up the right screen on me, otherwise it's not going to look right. Oh, yeah, you can see a mouse here now. Right.
Very good.
So a blockchain consists of three basic elements: a private key, a public key, and a wallet address. So that's the three parts of it. So the first part is a private key. So when you first create a wallet on a blockchain, no matter which blockchain it is, your little bank account gets opened, right? And they give you an account number, which happens to be a 256-bit binary key. And you can see here, there's an example of it just here. I think my mouse disappeared. There it is. Right, that's an example of a 25-bit private key. That's the key that allows you, the owner of the wallet, to do transfers, to make alterations to a contract, to whatever, right? That's your private key. No one should ever see that. That's only for you, right? And so basically that's your account number, if you want to look at it that way in a bank. That's your account. That's your account number. When you first get that bank account open, they also give you a public facing key at the same time, and it's worked out from the private key. Now that public key is something like you see here in this example. See a massively long heap of hexadecimal numbers?
Yeah.
Right? you'll notice it never goes above F, and that's because it's hexadecimal, but I'll explain that to anybody who wants to know later. Making that key is absolutely huge. Can you imagine trying to type that key in if you wanted to send somebody money?
No.
Yeah, it would be very, very difficult. How easy would it be to make a mistake?
Very.
Very. But they need that key, that length, so it can't get hacked, at least unless you've got a quantum computer just sitting in your basement somewhere. But but that's the public side of the key. So that's what gets addressed, and that will tell you whatever balance is in that particular ledger account on the blockchain. Doesn't tell you who it is, doesn't tell you what's in it, just says this is the balance and these are the bits and pieces I'm allowed to share, and that's it.
So if I'm my own bank,
Yep.
and all my money, like now, is in my bank,
Yep.
And somebody gets access to be able to see inside my wallet, are they seeing all my money? Do they know how much I'm worth?
Yes.
So if your entire life then becomes a digital currency, anybody would have access to knowing what your digital worth is. Is that right?
Yeah, what your value is. Yes. It's easily browsable on what we call a blockchain explorer. So the answer is yes. Can they identify you by that? Depends on which blockchain you're on. Okay, which goes into the next part that I'm talking about down here, right? It's a wallet address. This is the easiest way to get access to that particular account. If you wish to send money to that account, you would use this wallet address. So this wallet address is like a nickname, right? But instead of saying Carl's wallet, it's been randomly generated as something to keep anonymity in it.
Yep.
Right. Now, while people can see what accounts have digital assets in them while on the blockchain, they don't necessarily know who they belong to.
But they can. Like this bloke, because of his association with the person who obviously knows him and knows that he has a wallet, this bloke's been able to figure out, what transactions are what, and can see into his account.
Yeah, because that's a bit of social engineering, because he knows the guy and he's managed to see that this account, this wallet address is tied to this guy's name. He knows
You
it.
listening to this, Bill?
Right? He knows it. That's how it's done. It's by social engineering. And it's the same way that the companies, like the government and stuff, will try and follow stuff back. They start trying to follow the chain of each jump where the money moves to, until they see where it gets actually taken out of the blockchain and deposited in somebody's account, or somebody else's account has at one stage deposited money into that account on the blockchain. So now they've been able to tie the person's name to the account. Right. So if I was to set up a Bitcoin wallet right now, I would get one of all this set up. Right. If I did nothing, didn't put any money in it, didn't transfer any money from any of my wallets to that wallet, that would just sit there on that blockchain totally anonymous. They'd have no idea who did it. Right? But the minute I transferred wallet, say, for some money or some coins from CoinSpot to that wallet, then that gives them a bit more of a clue. Not a full clue, because I'm transferring out of CoinSpot, which has its own wallet, which is like a global wallet that has lots and lots of people in it. And I'll get into that part in a little bit later. But at this stage, that is what a wallet is about. Sorry?
So you've got lots and lots of people in your wallet.
It's actually their wallet. And I'll explain that later. Okay? But in this situation here, we use that address. So if I wanted to send money to you, right, in this case, this is actually a Bitcoin address. I can tell because it says 1B at the front, right? But it's just a random Bitcoin address. I don't even know if it exists on the blockchain. Probably doesn't. But effectively, if that was your account, I could send money to that Bitcoin address, and I would know I'm sent you money, and you would know you've got money. So I would know that this is your account because I've sent you that money. But that's no different than a bank account. When I transfer money into your account, right, in the bank, how am I doing that? I'm just using your...
But the difference for me here is that after you've transferred money into my bank account in the normal banking system of today, you can't then look into my bank account and see how much money there is in there.
Correct.
Whereas with this, you can.
Correct. There are programs such as XMR, which is Monero, which are called privacy blockchains. And you can actually, they're hidden. There's no way you can look into the account, right? So there's those sort of things as well.
Bill said CoinSpot's weak and high risk. Binance is safer. I think Binance went down this week with some huge intrusion as well, didn't they?
Binance has been hacked a few times, actually.
Yeah.
Right. I'll get into CoinSpot and why CoinSpot in a little while. So now we understand how a wallet is created. Right. We get our own little spot and in the blockchain, and that's our wallet. That's our bank account. Right. The next thing to understand is the type of wallets that you can get. So there's hot wallets and there's cold wallets. Now I'll explain what a hot wallet is. Right, it comes in 2 or 3 different types of formats. There's what we call web wallets. So you know how we're all using Chrome or Firefox or Edge. We can add a little plug-in to those wallets there, which is a plug-in to the browser there, which is a wallet. One of the classics is MetaMask that uses the Ethereum network. Binance also has one as well. With that, you can actually once you've got that wallet, you can actually add different wallet addresses to that. So let's say I had Tron, say 3 or 4 different Ethereum type tokens. I can add each one of those wallet addresses to my little mask thing inside my browser, and I can view, send, do whatever. Challenge being, of course, that how easy is a browser to get hacked? Very easy. So the people actually get a chance to look at your wallet. So that can be a bit more of a challenge. But it does make it easy access and easy to use. You've got mobile wallets. So you've seen people go up and they tap their phone on to do their pay for their goods and their bits and pieces, right?
Yeah.
So you can do exactly the same with the mobile wallets, right? And you can have a wallet that's on your phone. So if you've got a Lobster wallet and Lobster's able to do those tap payments, then you could open up your wallet, say yep, and tap, and away you go. Right. You can also use a Visa card if the company supplies you one. And there's plenty of crypto companies out there that have Visa cards. Excuse me, I need a drink. No, I don't, because it's empty. And then you've got there's a couple of mobile wallets, which are Trust Wallet, Exodus Wallet. These ones I'm showing you here are a generic type wallet where they handle multiple different currencies. So they can handle things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Stellar, etc., and so on, all the way down.
Yeah.
So the advantage is you're not opening 100 different wallets on your phone to get to your coins, right?
Yeah.
The same thing goes with a desktop wallet. Coming to the right screen would be handy. Desktop wallets is something that you actually have on your computer, right? And effectively, you can store all your various bits and pieces. Once again, same principle. Do I want to have a wallet that looks after all, or do I want most of them? I can't say all. Or do I want to have individual wallets for every blockchain that I'm involved in, that I have cryptocurrency in?
That means individual 12-word phrase ciphers that you've got to try and keep track of.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Thank you. I totally forgot to mention that when you're creating the wallet and you're getting those private, public, and wallet addresses, you're also given a secret key, which is a 12-phrase word. That word you need to write down on a piece of paper somewhere.
That phrase, not the word. There are 12 words in the phrase.
Those phrases you need to write down and store somewhere, because you lose it, right? Bitcoin in the rubbish dump. Same deal. Excuse me, Carl. Can you talk for a sec? I've got to get a drink.
You go and get yourself a drink, and we'll sort you out. I guess with wallets, the only experience that I've had with a wallet has been Lobster so far, and it has been easy for me to understand how it works, how it functions, and how to transfer funds into different assets that I've got into with it. Haven't found it to be a difficult process at all once it's in there. I have heard that Lobster is less than secure in some cases. I'm sure people have had, and I'm sure it'll be the case with just about everything. I've heard people with MetaMask say bad things about it at times. So if I'm honest, they're the only two that you've mentioned there. I may have heard of Trust Wallet within the last 12 months. I want to say I have and did something on it, but I'm stretching my memory. But because it was crypto, it's probably been put on the back burner in my mind. And I recognize the name, but couldn't tell you much more about it. So, yeah, look, my experience with the setting up of the wallet was very easy. The 12-word phrase, don't look for a phrase that makes sense. It doesn't. It's just 12 random words, and they are put in a grid format. So you write them in that grid format because they have to be put back in that same grid format. Don't just write them out one after the other on 2 lines of paper. That's not going to help you. You need to write them out as it displays on the screen when it gives them to you, sort of like in a, what is it? 3 lines of 4 or 4 lines of 3? 4 lines of 3. I think it is.
It can be a single straight line if your screen's big enough. So, but they've got to be in the order. Yeah, they've got to be in the order. So you're 100% correct there. That's your recovery phrase. So let's say, for instance, I had a Atomic wallet and I wanted to bring in my Bitcoin into that Atomic wallet. I can open up and say, I want to create a Bitcoin link or connection to my wallet. I would then use that recovery phrase to pull that wallet in to that Atomic program so that I could now view the contents of my wallet, transact with it, etc. Right? Because I'm using a valid recovery phrase. So you lose your recovery phrase or somebody else gets it, they have access to your wallet. It's as simple as that. It's like giving them your PIN. You know, here's my PIN number. Go for it. All right? Just help yourself. So,
all right, moving on to cold wallets.
Okay, so all of these are hot wallets, which means they're all online, they're all active, they're all on the internet. So how do you protect yourself from getting your funds stolen by a hacker or by some scripting program or whatever? That's where cold wallets come into play. So you've got 2 types of cold wallets. One is a hardware wallet, and you'll get some of those which are like Ledger, Nano S, or the Treasure. Now, these are little USB type sticks that you would plug into your computer. You would run their wallet interface program. It would open it up. You would transfer your coins into your wallet, your little Treasure. When you're finished, you close the program down and you take the USB stick out. That wallet is now in your hand. It is now disconnected from the network. Nobody can take your money unless they know the key, right? Or they know the passphrase to create an online wallet or a hot wallet, right? It's now yours. And they can't hack your computer for it because there's no information on the computer. It's sitting in your hand in this little key. So that's one way. The second way is a paper wallet, which is where you get all your information, your public, your private keys, right? Your wallet key, your wallet name key, and also your phrases, and you put it on a piece of paper, right? You can print it out, you can do whatever, but do not ever take a photo of it. And if you do, to print it out, then delete the photo afterwards, and then make sure you've deleted the deleted file, because I can guarantee you, if you just delete the photo file, I can probably recover it. All right, so do not take a photo of it. Store it somewhere safe, in like a safe or somewhere else where it's not going to get lost or burnt or damaged. All right, because those keys that are on that piece of paper is effectively access to your wallet. But once again, it's a piece of paper. It does not have connection to the internet. So both of those are safe storage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So choosing what wallet you want to use is going to be up to you on what you're going to do, what you're prepared to lose, or what you're prepared to invest. Don't think that, I know we're doing a lot with QSI, but that's not the only goal in town. So we get back to now, how do we actually get into crypto if we want to get into crypto? So I'm just going to close this one off. Minimize that, and I'm going to start share screen, see if I can pick the right one. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, excuse me, well, I have technical issues. The IT person here having technical issues. Let's see.
All good.
Oh, well, that's
interesting question here from just like that. Coinbase only lets Aussies buy but not sell. Why? Because it's a slush fund for them?
Sorry, what was that? Coinbase only lets Aussies buy but not sell. Coinbase has been doing a bit of reduction of staff and whatever, and that's the first I've heard about that. I have a Coinbase account, but this is why one of the reasons why I'm going to talk about this one now. I'll see if I can get it to show up this time.
Sure.
Share screens. As timer showed, yay. So if your screen's minimized, it doesn't show in StreamYard. That's interesting. All right.
There you go.
Okay, so this is one of the exchanges that I use online where I can convert money from our current currency, our dollar coins, by using my bank account, which is attached directly to this organization. This is an Australian organization. It's called CoinSpot. It's been running for quite some time. They're very good at keeping their security up to date and whatever, but that doesn't mean they're not hackable. And in here, I can go in here, I can deposit, say, $2,000 worth of cash. I can then go and buy my cryptocurrency. From here, I would then transfer those that I wanted to my private wallet, which I have stored away somewhere, either on my desktop or in my Trezor or whatever. All right?
Yeah.
And on the same aspect, if I've got cryptocurrency I want to transfer back, and say I want to, like Bitcoin's just gone up. Let's just do a quick look at Bitcoin. Hang on, I've got to click on the right screen. All right. So we can see that Bitcoin goes up and down like a yo-yo, just like any other market thing. This is a 6-month view. All right. If we go back 100%. To an all-time view, look at that. So that's from from April the 10th, probably about 2014, when it was worth, 473 per Bitcoin, to its peak at 89,000. Right now it's dropped down and gone back up. But if you look at this, it cycles every 4 years. It cycles.
Yeah.
And every time it's cycling, it's growing and growing and growing. That's where the enticement is for people who play in the crypto market, right? And all the other coins tend to follow that procedure. Whatever Bitcoin's doing, the others tend to follow to some degree. But anyway, when you have an account in here, I'm not going to open up my account and let you guys see it, so bad luck. But
any idea on Sunflower's statement here? Coinbase won't let her dad sell or cash in his Ethereum.
Yep, that's quite possible. Now, there is a solution around that. If they had a Coinbase account, a CoinSpot account, they could send from the Coinbase online system to this wallet here on this system, and then they could pull their money out and drop it straight into the bank.
Right. Okay.
Right. So you're just transferring from one of your accounts to another of your accounts at a different bank, and then you're pulling your money out. That's what you're doing. Does that make sense?
I hope that helps. Tell your dad to do that. Pull it out of Coinbase, put it into CoinSpot, and then he can transfer it whichever way he wants.
Yeah. Now, the challenge with online exchanges like this is you need to be aware, right? They have wallets for everything that they sell. So they've got a wallet for Ethereum, they've got a wallet for Bitcoin, they've got a wallet for XRP, they've got whatever. They have one wallet for that. And they might have some of that wallet backed off into cold storage so that nobody can get to it. But they have one wallet. So if I've got, say, 100 XRP sitting on that exchange, it's sitting in the global wallet with a little tag saying 100 of this in this global wallet belongs to Vince. Right? So that's part of my account. That means that if the exchange was to be hacked or whatever, and they took money out of that global wallet, my money would go with it. It's not my bank account. It's CoinSpot's bank account. So it's like me having money in NAB. It's not my money in NABs. It's NAB's money in NABs, and I'm allowed to get to it when I make an agreement.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay, so the ownership is the thing here. So it's the same principle. So when you've got online exchanges with funds in them, you have to realize that that is not your wallet, not your bank account that it's sitting in. That's their bank account. And they've just got a little ledger note saying this much belongs to you. Right? Which is why people should pull it off and put it into their own bank account on the blockchain, not the company's bank account.
Not the company's, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Makes perfect sense.
Then you can transfer money back into that global one. Say, I want to redeem my 100 XRP for cash. The market price at the moment, it's gone up, and I've made 10% on my total purchase from when I bought it a year ago or whatever. I'm going to sell it all off now. I get Australian dollars back in return for that. That lands in my account on the exchange, and then I say, okay, I'm now transferring that money. It might be $500. I'm going to transfer that to my nominated bank account, and then off it comes. And that's how you get your money out of crypto. The same way you put it in, right? From your bank account to there, or credit card to there. And then when you send it back, you're sending it back to your nominated bank account, just as if I was transferring money from myself to you via NAB.
And is there, some 3 day to 7 day delay like the fiat banks have, if they can possibly arrange it to keep your money and play with it on the markets?
On your first initial one? Yeah, there is the couple of days delay, but now that my account is established, it's almost instantaneous. It'll happen within a couple of hours.
Yeah, wow.
And that's even on a weekend, unless of course the bank's down, which is happening a lot lately, I notice. But
I was going to bring this up. NAB have had some significant issues. Clearly, I haven't been able to pay for anything using my card over the weekend.
Speaking of which,
I haven't been out. I haven't been out today to see if it's useful. But I could get into the app and transfer the $12.95 that I had in there over to another bank account with a different bank. one that apparently is out of business, and it worked. So weird. I've also heard there have been problems with St. George, I think it was, which is tied up with Westpac, and that puts Westpac and NAB are on the same friends list, if you like. So I don't know whether there was something happening in that side of the network or through their machines. I've also had somebody tell me that there is a planned rollout of new ATMs before the end of August all over Australia.
Well, I know that NAB has said that they're having some issues with identifying transactions that are linked to them. You're getting these transactions that come in and they're not identifying properly in their apps. So that's one thing. I'll take this off the screen now. I don't think we need that anymore.
It's all good.
So that's part one. I mean, once again, it's their money is in their account, not our bank account. That's why the banks are in trouble. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. So to answer a question for the person who wanted to set up the Lobster wallet, it's really just a matter of downloading the Lobster app onto your phone, and then stepping through the process and creating a wallet for XLM. Getting that.
It steps you through it.
It steps right through it. Now, putting money into it, you're going to need somewhere like CoinSpot, where you can change your money from your Australian dollars to a XLM crypto. You would then get the address from your bank account in Lobster, right, which is your public address, and you would then say, I want to send 100 XLM to that address, and you press the button and it sends. Now, on a reasonably fast network like Stellar, should be pretty much instant, right? Or Bitcoin Lightning can be almost instant as well. But various blockchains vary on their speeds, but effectively that's it. So once your money is then floating around in the crypto, right, the government doesn't know what you're doing with it. Yeah. Unless they want to chase every single step of every bounce you do on the ledger, which is why people who do successfully hack bounce it from one crypto wallet to another, to another, to another, right? It's just like if you want to hack somebody's machine, you would go, I'll start off in China and then I'll move to Russia, then I'll go to Ukraine and then I'll go to England and then I'll come back to Australia, even though I was in Australia to start off with.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's the okay.
Mate, we're going to leave it tonight. Thank you very much. So, yes, you can go to your favorite download store, whether that's the App Store or the Google Play Store for the Android version, and Lobster is available. Just search that, download it, hit get, and it'll install it. It steps you through the process of setting you up in the wallet. You will need a pen and a paper to write down the words, the 12 keywords or phrase that you'll need, and then put that somewhere safe, very safe. Don't lose it. It's only there. You don't need to remember it or use it again. I haven't used it again since I've written it down, for instance. But once the setup process is done, that bit's really easy. I haven't done the CoinSpot side of it, but I imagine it would be just as easy. And if you're having real problems, then you can email Vince at vofhq.com, and I'm sure you will send back a little note that says this is how it works.
Yeah. There's a comment that just flew past, which I think needs to be addressed from Auslander Info.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
when the average Joe?
Yep. All right, so when the average Joe can download an app so as to run a node with no coding know-how, then maybe on the verge of decentralized government. Well, yeah, they can. I could run a Bitcoin node here if I wanted to here, except in Australia, too much electricity costs too much. But there are ways of doing that where you can just download an app, click run, and it goes. So there are ways of doing that, just to let people know. It's just a matter of just going and searching out the relevant forums to find out what software is needed and what to run. Okay, right. So there's things like that as well. Just have a quick look through any other questions. Government solves.
I haven't seen too much here.
Yeah, Sandy's got a good one there about the fact that she had some XLP in CoinSpock, and my accountant wanted to know because the ATO wants to know how much I made in crypto. That is true. Over the last couple of years, they've changed the rules a bit, and you need to relook at them. But initially, it was like if you had less than 10,000, they didn't care, right, what you had in crypto. But if you made a significant income, they treat it exactly the same way as they do any other investment. Capital gains tax, 50% of it, right? So if you turned your $100 into 1,000, right, they would want $450 of it as tax.
Yeah.
So, but that is true. That is there, and you cannot not declare that, even though the ATO is a questionable organisation, if I put it that way.
Certainly at the moment. Auslander Info's got a pretty good advice there up on the screen at the moment to use cryptos if you can. That's the moral of the story. Just don't depend on them and don't put all your eggs in one basket when you're using cryptos. Well, how old is that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket? More things change, the more they stay the same.
I was saying it yesterday, or when we had that meeting, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. I've got silver. I've got cash. I've got coins. I've got a tin of coins that weighs a ton. So I really wonder how much is in there. But you don't want to do that. You want to have assets too. Like we talk about silver as an asset. But, if worse comes to worse, we'll be trading shovels if it's going to get us food. Right? You need a shovel? I need carrots. Here we go. Do your deal. All right. Anything that's a fungible asset that we can use that's going to be good for our survival is something that's worth keeping.
Absolutely. I could do some voiceovers for a good feed.
Yep, we can do that. But the point is, mate, there's no electricity to sell your stuff unless you're going to come and be the town crier.
I have a really loud voice.
So what else we got here? Yeah, just don't depend on it. Do not invest in crypto if you're short on money. The market's very volatile. It can go up and down. You have to be prepared sometimes to wait for it to come back. A lot of people would get up there and in that graph I showed you, so many people bought it at the height, both in 2018 and 2022, where it was like $86,000 Australian. They bought their crypto. And now that crypto they might have bought $1,000. Now that's worth $200.
Yeah, right.
Because it fell down that much, right? But then again, 2026 is probably going to be worth $2,000 because that's what's been happening over the last 12 years.
Yeah.
You've got to just watch the ebb and curve, right?
Yep.
So, but
Sandy has plenty of donkey shit on her property. Can we create a non-fungible token for donkey shit that could? No, why not?
No.
We could sell it for fertilizer, couldn't we, on the garden?
Yeah, you could, but it wouldn't be a non-fungible token because a non-fungible token
probably be a warm, steamy, squishy one, I would reckon. But
non-fungible means it's a unique item, and each piece of donkey shit, while it might be unique, they're too much like the same. So you could make a token system that would, yes, we can sell you, or we can even buy donkey shit with.
No, we don't call it donkey shit. We could just call it processed grass.
Processed grass, yeah.
And you could make a non-fungible token for processed grass.
Well, see, with one of the coins I've got now, I can actually set up. Well, that was the Electronium, which has sort of just sat very low in the background. But I can say I want to hire somebody in India, and I can pay them in Electronium, right? Or someone can hire me, and I could charge them in Electronium as well, and do it through a credit card. So they give me the credit card; it comes out in Electronium. There is so much that's actually out there that people don't know about this because it's hidden, all the media wants to do is say, Bitcoin fell, or this or that.
Yeah.
Right? We are going to have a digital age. We are going to have to deal with it. If we let them take away our individuality by having distributed networks that we do, right, then they're going to have full control.
Yeah.
We can't allow that. That's
Can't
all I'm
allow
saying.
that at all. Gordon, you can get it on your mobile or you can get it on your desktop. You can get these apps either way, but I have it on my mobile, so works fine off the phone.
Yeah, you
Any
have the
issues?
lobster one there. I mean, I've got lobster on mine, not that I've got anything in it. I can also do Atomic on mine. I can also do a MetaMask on my phone. I can do all of the other types of wallets, right? If I want, I can get a dedicated Bitcoin wallet. I can open as many bank accounts as I want. The only part that does come into play, and especially when dealing with exchanges, is KYC. Know your customer regulations. You must identify who you are. Right?
Oh, okay. So this is so every transaction is identified.
Yes, so there's no anti-money laundering, etc., which is a good thing in that respect. But I can open up a cryptocurrency wallet without KYC.
Darren, while he supports the idea of a donkey shit token, seems to believe there is a better grass that might form a stronger token base. Good luck to you, Darren.
Well, I think if people want to just go through that, I'm hoping that this is going to help those who watch it. It was just a brief overview so you didn't get confused. This is not promoting cryptos. It's saying how they work and they're out there.
Yeah.
It's one arrow in the bow. One arrow. Just one.
We might have started something off here, mate. Sandy, for those folks who don't know, actually owns a donkey sanctuary, and she has quite a lot of donkeys, therefore access to tonnage, I imagine, of donkey shit. Now, it's very good for vegetables, very, very good for vegetable gardens. I believe it's got to be left off. Now, I've been suffering the slings and arrows from the trolls now for a couple of months. I wonder whether or not we could start up a fundraising opportunity, Vince, for a VoF donkey do, bag of shit, full of shit, bag of shit, It'll make the trolls happy. The voice of freedom, full of shit, bag of shit.
Two ideas come to mind with me, Carl. Just for interest, some friends of mine back in the earlier days, we did set up a blockchain called Puncoin. Right, and it was all about puns on the network and having puns on T-shirts and all this sort of stuff. We never actually made it go live, but we had a couple of servers out there. But that's one thought. So yeah, you could do something like that. The other option, though, which comes to mind, is as we continue to build our my places and we start getting transport and stuff going. Right, maybe she's got a market there that she can then tap into, and we can start transporting it all around the country.
I agree.
Just a thought.
Yeah, donkey shit on wheels. I love it. It doesn't quite have the same ring as Meals on Wheels, I've got to admit, but it's a working title.
Rejuvenated grass on wheels. Yeah.
Yeah, rejuvenated grass. Thank you, Vince. Appreciate you coming on tonight, and I'm sure there'll be more questions. We'll probably have to have you back to talk more about wallets and non-fungible donkey turd. So.
All right, mate. Well, all of you guys, be safe, be true, keep supporting Carl so he can do stupid things like have me on. All right, so do you know where to go to do that? That's voiceoffreedomhq.com. All right, and I'm pretty sure that the IT guy will look after you if you go there. Otherwise, I'll smack myself around the head. All right, no worries, people. Enjoy your life. I'll let Carl give you his final rant, and I'm out of here.
Cheers, buddy. Have a good night. Thanks for your help tonight. Appreciate it. So we will get Vince back if you want him back. We always love to have him around. But he's certainly very knowledgeable in the mechanics of how this happens. And he's not too bad at figuring out how to keep you safe while playing in this part of the world too. So take his advice for what it is. You may well be playing the game and know all about crypto. We are trying to offer a service here for people like me who are really at the base level. So hopefully tonight you learned enough, Stell, to open your own crypto wallet and put $10 in and have a go, see what happens. Everything that we've done in the show, of course, is not financial advice. If you read in the little sub-clauses that go on all the links, you'll say it's entertainment, weird and funny things. That's the headings I run under most nights. So that's because most nights we don't know where it's going to go. It'll usually be weird and hopefully it'll be partly funny somewhere. But we do also put out our own fair share of sad information too. Thankfully, at the moment, the world seems to be turning in a way that more people are waking up. It's a slow journey, a bitterly slow journey. And unfortunately, more and more people are dying every day. Silent ambulances, lights only runs all over the place, and denial coming from our medical authorities about why people are just simply healthy people falling over dead. It's just beyond me. Anyway, folks, tomorrow, Anzac Day, please go out, pay your respects. If you can do a dawn service, get the kids out of bed early. They'll remember it for the rest of their lives. You do. You probably remember you hated getting out of bed to go and do a dawn service. But it is a very important thing in a kid's life to go and do it at least once. And if you're lucky enough to be in a city and do one of the big ones, I've been to the one in Melbourne, and I forget now how many times, probably 20 times, maybe not that many, 10, 15 times at least. And of course, it's a big day, big parade in Melbourne. Kids love a parade. So get out there and support our veterans as they march in their parade, whether it be a big city parade or whether it be one just in your local town or city. Our veterans are everywhere amongst us, and tomorrow is their day. And God knows, folks, they had to spend a great deal of time putting up with dickheads on their roads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!